General Naravane is in Ladakh. The Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is in Moscow attending the Defense Ministers' meeting of the SCO. We'll put all this into context, but first let's give you the big news at this hour. Army Chief General Naravane reaches Ladakh on a two-day visit. The Army Chief to take stock of the operational situation in eastern Ladakh in the light of the current developments at the actual line of actual control. The General will be briefed by senior field commanders on the ground situation in the region. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the third annual conference of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum tonight at 9 p.m. India time. USISPF is a non-profit organization that works for stronger ties between India and the United States. In yet another embarrassment for Pakistan, the United Nations Security Council rejects Islamabad's application for listing 2 Indians under the sanctions list. The move was backed by 5 UNSC members, the United States, UK, France, Germany and Belgium. India continues to do well in the fight against COVID-19 as the case fatality rate in the country further improves to 1.75%. The recovery rate is over 77%, and India sees over 29,70,000 patients having recovered. Global COVID-19 cases cross 2.6 crore mark with over 8.66 lakh deaths. And in sports, India's Sumit Nagal is to take on the world number 3 Dominic Thiem in the second round of the US Open later today. The top seed, Karolina Pliskova, crashes out of the US Open after a straight-set defeat at the hands of her French rival, Carolina Garcia. In the men's category, the top seed Novak Djokovic has cruised into the third round. So let's begin with the big news at this hour. So the Army Chief, General M.M. Naravane, is in Ladakh. He reached there early in this morning and he's taking stock of the operational situation in eastern Ladakh in the light of the current developments at the LAC. The Army Chief is on a 2-day visit to Ladakh. The U.S. Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said that the U.S. is hoping for a peaceful resolution to the situation on the India-China border. Pompeo added that China is being engaged from Taiwan Strait to the Himalayas and beyond in clear and intensifying pattern of bullying its neighbors.
China, but moving beyond our borders, we're hoping for a peaceful resolution of the situation on the India-China border. From the Taiwan Strait to the Himalayas and beyond, the Chinese Communist Party is engaged in a clear and intensifying pattern of bullying its neighbors. That bullying is also evident in the South China Sea. Last week, the United States imposed sanctions and visa restrictions on Chinese individuals and entities responsible for the CCP's imperialism there, doing things such as unlawful energy surveillance activities in the economic zones for ally the Philippines and other countries.
The Defense Minister, Rajnath Singh, is in Moscow on a 3-day visit. He was received by Major General Vaktiv Yuri Nikolaevich at the airport. He will attend the combined meeting of the defense ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that's the SCO, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, CSTO, and the Commonwealth of Independent States, member states. And the meeting is taking place in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the victory in World War II. The Raksha Mantri, as he's known in India, will also discuss bilateral cooperation and issues of mutual interest with the Defense Minister of the Russian Federation, General Shoigu. And Ramesh Chandra, our correspondent, is joining us from Leh. Now, Ramesh, it's an evolving situation. We are in touch with you every day, and we know that there was a flag meeting yesterday, and we know that the Army Chief is there today. So, tell us a little bit about, put this all into context. The Army Chief is obviously being briefed by the top commanders on the deployment of forces and the combat readiness.
Yeah, in a sudden surprise visit, Army Chief MM Narvane has reached Leh early this morning, and immediately, without taking much time, he proceeded to forward post. And the latest news that we are receiving here in Leh is that he is coming back at any point from now onwards. So this visit of Army Chief in the backdrop of the skirmishes happened on 29th and 30th intervening night, and the incidents taking place, and the 3 days talks that were going on at the brigadier level at Chushul Post. This visit is seen as very important, and on his visit immediately he went there to see the preparedness of the army armored forces there at eastern Ladakh region at various points. And the most important thing is now in a week or 2 weeks time, this is going to be a winter season for Ladakh region, and he has to take stock of that situation also to continue the armed forces to guard the long eastern Ladakh line of actual control.
Right.
These are all things that are taking place, and this visit also includes the moral boost to the armed forces who are guarding and preempted the latest effort by the PLA. This is how this visit of Army Chief is very important today, and he'll be here and tomorrow also in Leh, Ladakh region.
Thanks very much, Ramesh, for those inputs. Now we are going to, we are joined also by our correspondent Amritpal Singh, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Defense Minister's visit to Russia. Well, it's the second visit in 2 months, in a few months, in fact, to Russia. He went there in June, and that was soon after the June 15 Galwan incident. Put that into context for us, Amrit.
Mark, he's there basically to attend the SCO Defense Ministers meet, which happens tomorrow. He's on a 3-day visit today, tomorrow, until the 5th of this month. He'll also hold a bilateral meeting with his Russian counterpart, General Sergei Shoigu, where he'll discuss the bilateral defense relationship that we have with Russia. Various defense deals which are in the offing could be discussed. It is being said that the AK-203 joint manufacturing in India could be inked this time. We'll have to wait for the outcome of the meeting. He could also bring up the S-400 missile system that we have with them. We've already inked a deal with them. They are expected to be delivered by the end of 2021. So he could bring that up with the Russian defense minister, that if the timelines can be moved forward. As you know, Russia is a long-tested ally of India, and we have a special privileged defense strategic partnership with them, of which defense is an important component. So today, when the two defense ministers meet in Moscow, this and the whole range of bilateral relations are expected to be discussed. Mark?
Indeed, Amrit, also one must remember that Russia is a time-tested friend as far as our defense supplies are concerned. And one of the important aspects of that is transfer of technology. The Russians have been willing to transfer technology, help the Make in India, in a sense. A lot of the equipment that is of Russian origin is actually being manufactured in our country. So in that context, this is an important relationship. And of course, there's a lot in the works also in terms of helicopters, in terms of guns, and in terms of the S-400. So there's plenty that is being discussed. But it's also in the context, of the SCO, where China is a member.
That's right. Though nobody said this, but I'm sure because China is also an ally of Russia, and the Indian Defense Minister, when he speaks with his Russian counterpart, will the border issue that is going on at the NDC and the Chinese aggression will be looming large on any meeting that happens, be it the SCO Defense Ministers meeting, though it is, of course, a bilateral issue and does not figure in the agenda, but
Yes.
it is happening in that background. So I'm sure when the two leaders speak, they will be discussing this, and the Indian Defense Minister will be putting
Right.
that how the Chinese aggression and their expansionist design is creating problems, not just for India, but for regional security. As you know, the SCO is a organization which controls, which is a security architecture which affects about 44% of the world's population. These countries, these 8 countries put together,
Right.
and the 4 observer states,
Yes,
you
indeed.
have a huge, geographic region, right from extending from the Arctic to the Indian Ocean,
Yes.
from the Pacific
Yes,
to the
Amrit.
Baltic Sea. So, when you're talking about that,
Yes.
when two big countries like India and China have an issue, it affects the regional security architecture.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Amritpal Singh, for putting that into context for us. We are also joined by Ambassador Ashok Sajnar, former senior diplomat, to give us a little perspective on these stories. Ambassador Sajnar, so the SCO meeting takes place at a time when there is again a little bit of a standoff, a continuing standoff that's taking place between India and China in Ladakh. So in that context, how do you see the defense ministers meeting in Russia today?
I think very important visit, and Mark, as you said yourself, this is the Raksha Mantri's second visit within a matter of a few months. And I think this underscores and emphasizes the importance of the bilateral relationship that we have with Russia, and also the importance that India accords to its participation in SCO deliberations, because India was an observer in SCO since 2005. We became a member in 2017. This is a very important forum because it provides us with an opportunity to interact with our Russian counterpart. Amrit has spoken very comprehensively on that, our relations with that, and what we can expect in terms of discussions going forward. But in addition to that, we also have these 4 Central Asian countries who are also members: Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. And we have, the Prime Minister in his August 15th address spoke about India's extended neighborhood. And this is really a part of our extended neighborhood. It is very important for our security. It is very important for our energy security, and very important for our connectivity. So the Raksha Mantri will get an opportunity not only to discuss matters with his Russian counterpart, General Shoigu, but also with his counterparts from these countries. And I must emphasize here that our relations, overall relations, and particularly in the area of security and defense, they have been increasing with these 4 countries. So notwithstanding the fact that China is going to be there, Pakistan is going to be there, we have our own agenda, and we are going to promote our interests in our talks with all these countries bilaterally and also in the plurilateral, multilateral.
And India also has withdrawn from those military exercises because of the presence of both China and Pakistan. But would you see that China and Pakistan are actually being isolated to some extent in the larger scheme of things globally, because one, of course, is a sponsor of terrorism, and the other is a supporter of that country which sponsors terrorism and is having its own expansionist agenda at a time when, when coronavirus, which actually originated in China, has spread to the rest of the world and destabilizing a lot of the economy and causing a lot of confusion. These 2 countries are not exactly, being looked at favorably at this point of time.
No, absolutely. I would tend to agree with you. Maybe I would not be, would not like to use the word isolated, because, after all, China is a big country, both territorially as well as in terms of its economic and military might. It's the 2nd largest economy in the world, $14–15 trillion. So, it's difficult to isolate a country in that sense. But as you said at the end of your remarks, it is definitely getting, there is a huge pushback against China, a huge backlash. Firstly, for spreading coronavirus right at the initial stages, being very deceptive, being very not taking the world into confidence, not taking the WHO into confidence, and letting all these millions of people leave Wuhan when it was really necessary to sort of contain all this thing. So that, and then after that, the wolf warrior diplomacy that they have engaged in. And it's very aggressive and belligerent geostrategic posture, not only against India, but also in the South China Sea. So, you know, there it is receiving a very bad press. We saw Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, gone to Europe, but there also he did not meet with a good response, because all these countries, whether it was Italy or Netherlands or France, Germany, Norway, all of them raised the issue of human rights violations, of you know, the national security legislation in Hong Kong. So China, yes, I think it is feeling the heat, it's feeling the pressure, but it doesn't seem to be doing any difference to its policies, as you've seen 29th, 30th, what they did in India. And Pakistan, you said very rightly, you know, Pakistan has really been isolated in the world, even by its traditional friends in the Middle East and West Asia. We've seen how the Saudis have treated it, how the other Muslim countries have treated it. Yes.
Let's go back to Amrit, who's also joining us. Amrit, you know, it's basically a combined conference of three different kinds of conferences. There's the CSTO and the CIS also. Of course, India is not a member of these two other groupings. But the point is that those countries, you know, they're all at the same forum in a sense. And we are looking at it internationally. This is Central Asia. This is the former Soviet Union in a sense. It was a pact. The CSTO was a pact like the Warsaw Pact, I think, at that point of time, which basically kept the Soviet Union to counter NATO. So how do you look at this, you know, the overall situation as we look at it?
Well, as Master Sajnar said, that, you know, these countries, the other countries that are participating in this conference and the other two conferences that you spoke about are very important for India. India looks at them as a you know, extended neighborhood. It's a country, because they were part of the erstwhile Soviet Union, so we've had you know, links with them. We've had cultural links with them. A lot of Indian students still study in these countries. The need is to increase, you know, say trade or other mutual relationship with them in terms of, you know, their needs. Energy from India's point of view is very, very important. Access, that's why the Chabahar Port, the access to Central Asia holds extreme importance for us, both from an economic point of view and also from a strategic point of view. And India, with its vast experience of democracy, what India offers, the huge market that India offers, the energy resources that these countries offer, and given the friendly ties that exist between these countries, and there is no conflict of interest, India would want to develop this relationship further. So when a big country, which is a big power and also an important voice in the world today, goes and engages with these countries or is at a multilateral forum like this, of course, these linkages get strengthened. And also, you know, the Indian point of view on what is going on in the world and its take on how, say, dealing with the issue of terrorism, extremism, or even the COVID pandemic. So that is where these countries count, and it becomes important for a country like India to be a part of these fora.
A final word from you, Ambassador Sajnar, on this particular, you know, the other groupings that are meeting there. We are looking at a post-COVID world, in a sense, you know, where people talk, analysts like yourself will probably think that, you know, realignment is taking place to some extent. The world is realigning. So in these contexts, all these kind of meetings actually hold some sort of importance in the context of, you know, any form of realignment.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Mark, when you say this, that there is a geostrategic churning everywhere. You know, we have, of course, seen it in South China Sea, in other parts of the world, but also in Greater Eurasia, there is a huge churning. And I think even as far as the bilateral relations of China, you know, leave aside COVID, leave aside coronavirus, where it emanated from, you know, some of these very expansionist policies that China is displaying against India and the others, they are also getting reflected in China's relations with these countries. For instance, you would have seen that China has laid claim to more than 1/3 of Tajikistan, you know, the whole Pamir area, saying that, you know, it has historical claims to it. You would also have read reports that just a few weeks ago, China had said, the Chinese embassy in Kazakhstan had said that there is a new virus which is more deadly than the coronavirus that has come out of Kazakhstan, because it wants to give the impression that coronavirus did not come from China. And then it has also laid claim to Vladivostok, because Vladivostok, when they were celebrating 160th anniversary of their being a part of first the Russian Empire, then Soviet Union, and now Russia, then there was a backlash from China. So I think these countries are also feeling the pressure, and India can definitely be a balancer there, not even in a strategic sense. So I think India's participation in all these meetings is going to be extremely beneficial. It's going to be a win-win partnership as we go forward.
Ambassador Sajnar, thank you very much for being with us, as well as Amritpal, thank you for your input. Now we are moving on then to our next story, which is our developing story. Karnataka State Natural Disaster Monitoring Center has predicted light to moderate rain in the south and north interior Karnataka, even as heavy rains lashed Bengaluru and several interior districts since yesterday. Bengaluru witnessed, in fact, heavy rainfalls last night. The Bangalore City Corporation has sounded alert, and also control rooms are activated. As per the update, the south interior Karnataka, widespread light to moderate rains with scattered heavy to very heavy rains, and thunderstorms are very likely in Chitradurga, Davanagere, Tumkur, Ramnagara, Bengaluru Rural, Mandya, Chamrajnagar, and also in Mysore districts. The KSNDMC has said that they predicted fairly widespread, also widespread to light to moderate rains and thunder showers. And these are thunder activity, in fact. This is likely over Bengaluru urban, Kolar and Chikbalapur districts, Bellary, Koppal, and also Raichur district, Gadag, Haveri in North Karnataka. All these have received heavy rains since yesterday. Well, the central team is visiting Muzaffarpur today, and they are assessing the damage caused by the floods in Bihar. A 6-member team is headed by Piyush Goyal, who's actually the Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs and has nothing to do with the Minister, Piyush Goyal. And the team will also visit Darbhanga and Gopalganj districts. Now, these 3 districts have suffered the most from the floods. After reaching Patna last evening, the team held a meeting with the officials of the Disaster Management Department and also inquired about the damage caused by the floods. According to the Disaster Management Department, the team was apprised of the damage caused by the floods in 16 districts. The team will once again have a meeting with the officials before returning to Delhi on Friday. The team will submit a report on the loss due to the disaster to the central government, after which the central government will determine the financial assistance to be given to the state. Meanwhile, the flood situation in Bihar has improved further, and relief and rescue operations are going on. In the flood-affected districts, 21 teams of NDRF and SDRF are engaged in relief work. Gram Panchayats have been provided with funds for the cleanliness campaign in the area. Also, in view of the improvement in the floods, the number of community kitchens has been reduced. Now, the 22 community kitchens are running, and they are in 3 districts, Darbhanga, Samastipur, Saran, and cooked food is being provided to more than 30,000 people. According to the state government, more than 14.5 lakh families have been given an amount of 6,000 rupees per family. This is relief through DBT. And medical camps also have been opened in flood-affected areas. Dry rations, fodder for cattle, all this is being provided to the affected population. The river Ganga is still flowing above the danger mark you in a few places, Patna for one, but the officials say that there is no threat in the city of Patna. And now an update from the flood-affected state of Madhya Pradesh, and people have breathed a sigh of relief as the state has not witnessed heavy rains for the last 3 days. Relief efforts have picked up momentum in various parts of Madhya Pradesh. The Chief Minister, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, on Wednesday visited the flood-affected areas of Shahganj and Sihor. And the Chief Minister reached the rescue center and 3 relief camps set up in Shahganj and also distributed food items over there. He assured that all arrangements will be made for rehabilitation. The Chief Minister assured that farmers will be helped under the Prime Minister's crop insurance scheme, and the Chief Minister, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, took stock of the relief and rehabilitation situation from the officials of 52 districts. Aisha Khanam is joining us from Bengaluru with an update, and also Salman Haider, who is joining us from Patna. We'll start with you, Aisha. Well, bad rains in Bengaluru yesterday, but you know, and things are not predicted to continue for a little while. Yeah, the problem is that Bangalore also has a pretty bad drainage system at that time, isn't it? And rains can cause a bit of a problem with water logging.
Yes, absolutely, you're right, Mark. Heavy rainfall has been predicted for Bangalore, and Karnataka in the last 2 months has received record rain. And so far, the Met Department says that from July 1st till now, over 800 millimeters record rainfall has been recorded in the state. Therefore, all the dams across the state, all the floodgates of the dams were opened because the water mark had reached the danger level. And also the fact that heavy rain is predicted in Bangalore. Yesterday it rained very heavy in the afternoon and also overnight. And now the clouds are playing a bit hide and seek right now. And it is likely to rain in the evening as the Met Department has predicted. So the Bangalore City Corporation has activated the control room so that people are alerted. And as you rightly pointed out, that Bangalore has a very bad drainage system across the city, and we had seen Bangalore being flooded across in the past, in the last 2 years. So people have been alerted to take precautions, and the control room has been activated also to look around the places where, you know, whenever there is heavy rain and winds, there is a likelihood of trees falling across, which causes heavy damage to the property and the people. So this has been alerted so that people take care of themselves. And yellow level has been sounded off in Bangalore and also across the Kaveri Basin region. There is an orange level that has been sounded off. You know, every year Karnataka and Tamil Nadu have spat over the sharing of Kaveri waters, but this year the dams are full. The KRS is full, the Metu Dam in Tamil Nadu.
That's what I wanted to come to, so because I wanted to know whether the rain was actually heavy in the catchment areas and they were affecting the dams. And you tell us that the dam situation is pretty bad right now. So there is no shortage of water this year, and there's going to be no dispute as far as that is concerned. Thanks very much, Aisha Khanam, for those inputs. Salman Haider is joining us from Patna as well. Salman, are you with us?
Yeah, Mark.
Yes, okay. So tell us a little bit now about, you know, the relief operations that are on, and of course the assessment that is being done, because Bihar has had floods for a very long time. And, you know, what is the kind of claim that the state government really wants to make for these, for the damage caused?
Yeah, now the situation is at ease. The flood has gone, flood water has receded from the villages, and people are returning to their home. So the situation is very much under control, and the central team has come here to assess. In fact, the state government was making assessment for so many days.
Yes.
And as per preliminary data, almost 5 lakh hectares of crop have been damaged, and there is a lot of damage to infrastructure, buildings, school buildings, and other that bridges and all that. So the team, this 6-member team, has been divided into 3 groups, and all of them at present now having meeting with the district administration and senior district officials of the respective districts, that is Muzaffarpur, Gopalganj, and Darbhanga. So after this assessment, they will note down the damage caused due to flood, and they will go back to Delhi, and the central assistance will be decided after that. So the situation right now is the rivers are receding. Most of them have gone to their normal position.
Right.
So everything is under control right now, and let us hope the central government gives ample assistance to the state government so that rehabilitation work is done properly. Yeah, Mark.
Right. Thanks very much, Salman Haider, for those inputs.
सभी विद्यार्थियों का मैं आशीष पाठक नेशनल इंटर कॉलेज तहसील फतेहपुर बाराबंकी से भौतिक विज्ञान की इस कक्षा में बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूं। विद्यार्थियों, अभी हम लोग पिछले 4 वीडियोस से विगत 4 कक्षाओं से विद्युत धारा नामक अध्याय को पढ़ रहे हैं, समझ रहे हैं, और आज उसी क्रम में हम लोग 5वें भाग में विद्युत धारा नामक अध्याय के कुछ और महत्वपूर्ण शीर्षकों पर चर्चा करेंगे। तो विद्यार्थियों, अभी तक जो हमने 4 कक्षाओं में जानकारी प्राप्त की है उनमें प्रमुख है विद्युत धारा की परिभाषा, ओम का नियम, प्रतिरोधकता, चालकता, गतिशीलता, ओम के नियम की सीमाएं, अपवाह, प्रतिरोधकता का उद्गम, प्रतिरोधकता पर ताप का प्रभाव, कार्बन प्रतिरोधक, उनका वर्णकोड, और गत कक्षा